Here's the part that I have a tough time with, okay? And I think this feeds into the NFL draft and whatever remaining free agency acquisitions there are. Picture the 11 players trotting onto the field for the opening offensive possession. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. And this is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into hockey and or baseball. I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Russell Wilson's going to lead them on. All right. I'll take the easy one. But from there, I'm talking about lockdown certainties. It's not as easy. Let's presume that Najee Harris goes out ahead of Jaylen Warren. So now you're up to 2. Let's obviously presume that George Pickens is one of those. We're at 3. James Daniels is going to be one of those. Broderick Jones is going to be one of those. And Isaac Seumalo is going to be one of those. That's 3/5 of the offensive line. What are we up to now? 6? Pat Freiermuth will take the field. And that's 7. And you want to know something? That's it. Anytime anybody asks, why is it that everybody seems so focused on offense when it comes to the draft, or even for that matter on free agents? This is why. It's not to suggest that they don't have enough to put 11 out there. You and I can both name names like that. That isn't the issue. It's who goes out there, in what formation, and with what attitude. That's where it gets, well, I was going to say interesting, but at this point, this early in the process, to be honest with you, a little bit exasperating. I know, they don't play a real football game until September. But, this is kind of what we do here. We talk football. At this moment, we do not know who the right tackle will be. We can presume, I'd like to think, based on Omar Khan's remarks at the scouting combine in Indianapolis, that Jones is going to move to the left side. We don't know who the right tackle is going to be. We don't know if the second tight end, presuming there would be 2 tight ends, would be someone like a Connor Hayward who can offer you different options. Darnell Washington, who's obviously the big power guy that you would think Arthur Smith would prefer. And we have absolutely no idea who the center will be. And we have less than no idea who the other wide receiver would be, or if you're actually going to get away with a 1970s style look at wide receiver where you just put, Swan and Stallworth out there and call it a day. That in and of itself is the part that makes you realize how truly unsettled this is. Because in this moment, if you sent 11 out there and you decided to send a second wide receiver out, you'd be sending Calvin Austin, or you'd be sending one of these various Van Jeffersons that they picked up. And that's it. And that's it. And all we have to go on from anybody at all on the coaching staff is Mike Tomlin saying, stay tuned, with that smile on his face at the NFL annual meeting in Orlando. That's it. That's it. So, hey, let's give a try here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put 11 of my own on the field, and I'm going to do it instead of being all wishy and hopey. I'm going to do it in what I would think would be the Arthur Smith offensive spirit. And I'm going to put Darnell Washington out there. I'm going to send a message to my early opponents that when you face the Pittsburgh offense, you will be bruised. You will feel it. And in the process of installing a new offense, I'm going to send a message to my own players that, listen, for right now, don't worry about stuff. Don't overthink stuff. Don't be taking the snap of the football and then feeling like you have to go through an encyclopedia in your heads in order to execute the play. Just ride with us here, okay? We, the coaches, ride with us. We're going to get this ball 4 yards downfield. That's it. We're going to get it and then the snap after that, we're going to get it another 4 yards downfield. We'll deal with 3rd and 2. We'll succeed on 3rd and 2, which isn't to intimate that you're not going to have other plays. other looks and misdirection and everything else here. But you got to start off with an approach. Same word I used earlier. An attitude, a look and a feel that contributes to the confidence, which then in turn contributes to the consistency of the offense. We know we can get this yardage in this situation. If you go back to the final month of this past season, and I understand that parallels are already shot for the most part, but you'll recall that the Steelers found that confidence first and foremost through being able to pick up 6 yards, 7 yards on that first down carry. Everything fed off of that. There's not a single guy who was part of that offense who would dispute what I just said. Everything fed off of that. They knew they had 2 cracks to get those final 3 yards, and they knew they'd get them. And so they moved the football, and so they opened up the possibilities for things further downfield. All right, so I put Darnell out there. That leaves room for how many wide receivers? Let's throw Hayward out there. Connor Hayward. And let's have him operate out of some, H-back type role, whatever, where he can be a tight end, he can be a fullback, he can be something that's a lot less predictable than just sending, a straight up goal line looking offense out there. Connor Hayward's out there. So we've got 7 bodies at the line of scrimmage, including 2 tight ends. We've got Hayward just kind of floating around out there. That's 8 players. George is 9. Quarterback 10. Najee 11. We don't even have another wide receiver on the field. But, does it get you those first 7 yards? Does it get you within a reasonable down and distance range so that your offense can build up confidence? Yeah. Do you feel good about it? Does it make you think, yeah, this is going to be a big time offense that's going to put up a lot of points? No, it's 2024. You got to have that other wide receiver. My friends, this is why I keep coming back to this. There's no way to operate without someone who is, I don't want to say George's equal, but at least someone who's in that range. And this is why I want one in the first round. If it works out that would be the best player available at 20. I'd at the very least want one in the second round if I believe that the pedigree is there for that player to perform very, very soon, as in go into Latrobe and make an impact. When we come back, J1Q. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George. LGKG is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents people hurt in car accidents or who need help with workers' comp or medical malpractice. When the attorneys at LGKG make you a promise, they keep it. They've been keeping promises in our region for over 80 years. LGKG's been AV rated, the highest rating a law firm can receive, and they've been designated super lawyers. That's actually a thing for over 15 years. It's a rare combination. LGKG has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them by visiting lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. LGKG. Today's J1Q comes from Tony, who says, DK, even with the possibility of drafting a wide receiver who can hopefully step in on day one, the wide receiver room isn't looking so strong. Even though he's not a big name and his production is limited, is Juju Smith-Schuster a possible signing, or has that ship sailed? Well, Tony, as far as the ship sailing, I think what you're asking there, without putting words in your mouth, is whether or not Juju burned some bridges here and anything. And I have never gotten that impression. Juju, when he's around you and to his teammates and to his coaching staff, has always been seen as a big team guy. And nothing about his departure was bitter or rancorous or whatever. And that might have been the case with some of the fans or whatever, but that's not what you're asking. You're talking about the ship sailing from within. And taking this concept further, Juju is obviously, as Vontaze Burfict can attest, a wide receiver who not only blocks well, but enjoys it. And that would give the Steelers 2 of those, since George Pickens, when he hasn't lost his mind and is just watching Jaylen Warren go by without helping, he's also that kind of player. Really, really relishes the opportunity to take someone on in a blocking sequence. But I'm going to keep coming back to this. It's 2024. And whether that's your number 2 wide receiver or however it is that you'd care to characterize them, or if you only take the field with 2 wide receivers, or if you take the field with 2 wide receivers and Calvin Austin III in a slot, you're not doing much dynamically. And the thing that I keep coming back to in all of this is how seemingly quick they were to move on Deontay Johnson. Yeah, Deontay said something, sent some kind of signal, no matter what it is that Mike Tomlin said about this in Orlando a couple weeks ago, and Deontay got his way out. That doesn't mean you have to move him. The whole volunteers, not hostages thing doesn't need to apply in the moment, certainly not in the months of March and April. And they reacted, by every reckoning, almost immediately to whatever it was that happened between them. That tells me that either Arthur Smith has no use for this type of possession wide receiver, which would be really, really weird, or they have something else in mind. That they see somebody in the draft, since they really didn't address it in free agency. They didn't get Tyler Boyd. They didn't get anybody really that you would put into that type of position and count on them as a 2. And this is why, in addition to a handful of the 30 allotable visits that they can have with draft prospects being wide receivers, that I think there's a very real possibility, no matter what other stuff arises in the interim, whether it's centers, offensive tackles, I still see this as the number 1 need. And I kind of did, although it was a need/luxury at the time, before Deontay was traded. Now, I just, to go back to the beginning of this episode, guys, I can't see a scenario in which I feel really, really good about the 11 running onto the field right now. And it would be wonderful if 2 weeks from now, after the first round has already passed through, that everybody would. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers, and we're going to do another one of these on Monday.